Aloha, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the 2020 Ka'u Coffee College. This year, new for us, we'll be hosting a live webinar. Many of you have attended our previous coffee colleges, and for those of you that have, you'll understand that we cover a wide range of topics from technical assistance, marketing, promotion, community capacity building, and everything that helps the Ka'u community develop as a premium coffee growing origin. In the spirit of capacity building, the COVID-19 pandemic and resultant lockdowns and quarantines have forced us to create this webinar. We've all become more proficient at having video conference calls and webinars. And this is our contribution to that. So we thank you for joining us. We have a full program today. We're very pleased to have with us, I'll give you an overview at the beginning and then introduce each speaker. Many of you may already be aware that coffee leaf rust has been discovered on Maui Island and on the Kona side of Hawaii Island. And Maui, I think I said that right. Coffee leaf rust is a fairly devastating disease, the most devastating disease known to coffee. Working together with the Hawaii Coffee Association, we've been bringing multi-agencies together and the private sector to help deal with the disease and develop short-term, long-term strategies for that purpose. Our first speakers will be Lisa Keith and Andrea Kawabata, and they'll update our viewers today on the status of coffee leaf rust. Andrea, as many of you know, is with the University of Hawaii, and Lisa Keith is with the USDA. Following that, at 10 o'clock, we've got Stuart Nakamoto, also with the University of Hawaii College of Tropical Agriculture and Human Resources, and he will be giving some thoughts about how to recover from the COVID pandemic. And lastly, at 10:15, we'll have Jeffrey Wardell, who's a business program specialist with the Hawaii State Office of Rural Development. He holds a position formerly held by our friend Brenda Iokepa Moses, who has moved on from federal government. I believe she's working with the county now under the new administration, Mitch Roth, as mayor. And he will talk about some of the resources that are available through USDA Rural Development in our Hilo office. So I think that concludes my intro. I don't think I have anything more to say. If you have any questions, you can please type them in the chat section on the bottom right of your screen. And let's see, give me a moment, if you will. I'd like to be able to pull up the intro from Lisa Keith is going to go first. Lisa, as I said earlier, is with the USDA ARS, which is Agriculture Research Service. Her current research focuses on the biology, detection, and management of invasive pathogens causing disease on crops grown under the tropical and subtropical conditions. Attempts are made to integrate laboratory, greenhouse, and field-based research to develop and deliver practical disease management approaches that can be adopted by growers. Her main goal is to solve real-world problems in an environmentally sound and economically viable way. And my experience working with Lisa, she's been a very positive contributor to our weekly calls on Coffee Leaf Rust. She's a great speaker. She's very knowledgeable. And she has a unique way of taking very technical research and making it very easy for folks to understand and to utilize. With that, I would like to ask you to join me in welcoming Dr. Lisa Keith.
to get started on some of the topics we'll cover today with coffee leaf rust, really, you need to know your pest as best as you can if you want to manage it. So we're going to talk about some general topics like the biology and its actual disease cycle, what symptoms and signs you're looking for on the leaves of the coffee plant, how to manage it, get into some scouting and sampling. And as you heard, this is kind of the 1-2 punch from me and Andrea. So she'll take over and continue on with the monitoring, spraying, and pruning. Okay, so to really get started, the big question, how is disease caused in plants? And we refer to this disease triangle, that there's 3 critical components in order for disease to occur. You need to have your susceptible host, the coffee plant. You need to have coffee leaf rust, so this pathogen capable of causing disease. And the 3rd critical component is the favorable environment. And all 3 have to work in the right time and the right way for disease to occur. So if there's any way to minimize or eliminate a portion of this triangle, now we can start to manage the problem. Okay, so for coffee leaf rust, Himalaya vestatrix is named after the shapes of its spores and what it does to the coffee plant. And these spores, this picture that you're looking at, Uridinea spores, they're very uniquely shaped and specific for coffee leaf rust. Okay, coffee leaf rust is what's known as an obligate parasitic fungus. It needs a living host to survive. Coffee is the only host, and it doesn't need an alternate host to complete its life cycle. And essentially what ends up happening, these spores will land on a leaf and kind of hang out and wait until the conditions are right to actually germinate and start infecting the leaf and causing disease. So when you look at this picture of this disease cycle, really, if you're thinking it in the most simple terms, the spores start an infection that develop these spots and lesions that produce more spores. And although the disease cycle can vary from season to season, specifically depending on the environmental conditions and the amount of rain, these spores actually go in through the stomates and tap into the plant system and sets up a way to actually be fed by the plant. And once it establishes itself within the plant, it starts to grow and sporulate back out the stomates and to produce these powdery spores that you see in this picture here. Okay, so what is critical for the disease cycle to happen? Well, how do spores get around? They can be dispersed primarily by wind, by rain, and by worker activity. And just the nature of those spores, you can see that they have almost looking like a Velcro where they attach to things quite easily. Now, infection, as I mentioned, actually occurs through the stomates, which the stomata occur on the lower surface of the coffee leaves. And what is critical, so it's not just temperatures. There is a wide range of temperature where infection can occur, about 60 to 86 degrees, with an optimum around 70 to 77. But almost the most important aspect is this free water. 24 to 48 hours is necessary on the leaf for germination to occur. So once the spore gets into the leaf, approximately 2 weeks later, infection starts. You'll start to see the production of those powdery spores. The spots will enlarge over a couple weeks and actually produce hundreds of thousands of spores over a matter of months that can continue to cause new infection. Now, this type of rust, this fungus, survives primarily as mycelium growing within the living tissue. And so these free living spores, as I mentioned, they need a living host to survive. They can survive approximately 6 weeks on their own. And if they haven't found a new living host, they will die. And I'm going to mention partial shade does favor this infection process. Okay, this is a complicated slide, but really, I just want to point out how critical and in a way, complicated this disease cycle is for every stage of the disease cycle. So from spore dispersal to producing, actually reaching the leaves, germinating, becoming infected, penetrating the leaf, colonizing the leaf material, producing new spores. There are critical components that have to work in conjunction with each other. Temperature, the soil moisture, leaf wetness, etc., that all contribute to disease. Okay, so if we're looking at symptoms and signs, I thought I'd start with a definition first. The symptoms are actually how the host plant responds to the infection of coffee leaf rust. Okay, when we talk about signs, you're actually talking about the physical presence of the fungus. So the powdery spores are the fungus, and that is a sign. So when you start to look at the symptoms and signs, coffee leaf rust will sporulate again through the stomata. So they do not break into the host tissue themselves. They have to enter through the natural openings, which occur on the underside of the leaves. So in A, this is the first observable symptoms. On the upper surface, you'll see pale yellow spots first on the upper surface. Then within a week or two, if you look at the lower surface that corresponds to that upper small chlorotic spot, you'll start to see this chlorosis or lightened area and the presence of these powdery spores. So that's the first sign of coffee leaf rust, these powdery spores that will generally increase in number, and the spots will increase in size over time. And after a number of weeks, the internal tissue will actually turn brown or necrotic, but the surrounding surface will continue to enlarge, look a bit chlorotic, yellow, and also produce abundant spores. Okay, so as the disease is advancing, you can see that in the worst case scenario here, it's leading to defoliation. It's actually robbing the tree of its photosynthetic capability, of it producing food, and the tree health quickly declines. Okay, so these spots or lesions can develop anywhere on the leaf, but they do tend to concentrate around the margins. So that's important to remember when you start looking for symptoms in your field. And that's due just to the moisture concentrating on the edges. And again, these spots will expand, they will turn brown in the center, but that spot will continue to produce hundreds and thousands of spores. Okay, early in the season, the first spots actually appear on the lowermost leaves. So really start looking at the bottom third of the plant. And that's what, because defoliation occurs, the fungus is inside and on the leaf surface, and now most of them end up on the ground and splash up and start the infections lower on the healthy leaves. And once infection starts, it will progress up the tree. And again, then with later in the season, you have those leaves dropping prematurely, you see twigs, and the process will continue again. Okay, I thought this was a really good picture to show you. So you're actually looking at the same leaf develop symptoms and signs over time. Now, this is the lower surface of the leaf. You start to see very small chlorotic, and when we say chlorotic, we mean these yellowing, lightening spots, first with no spores. After a couple weeks, the spores develop. And as you can see, these are the same corresponding spots. Over approximately a month to 2 months, they start to have this brown necrotic portion in the center. Okay, so as far as management, Coffee leaf rust has to be managed as a continuous epidemic. It's not just one disease cycle. It will produce many, many disease cycles because there are so many spores available. And as long as there's healthy leaf material, the disease will continue. So in order to mitigate what's happening with this coffee leaf rust epidemic, anything that can reduce sporulation or the spore dispersal or infection is key. And good cultural management is vital. And that is all aspects of plant health, soil health, and I'm sure Andrew will get into that more. A critical component, an important tool, are protectant fungicides in particular. Consult the UH guide for what is registered for use. And we're also working hard to be able to get the use of a systemic, because unfortunately, once the incidence and severity levels start to increase, it has to be managed with some kind of systemic fungicide. Okay, so to switch gears and really concentrate on coffee leaf rust on Hawaii Island and in Kona. Okay, thanks to HDOA for providing the map, the concentration of where symptoms and signs have been seen in the Kona coffee growing regions, approximately Holualoa to Honaunau. Okay, it is complicated and easy to misdiagnose early on. And in particular, coffee leaf rust, when you're comparing it to Cercospora spot, even for a trained eye, it can be tricky. So what I want to do is go through some pictures quickly to really try to have your eye start to see what the major differences are at the start of the disease cycle. And so coffee leaf rust, and particularly what the spores will look like underneath, and what Cercospora spots, so not coffee leaf rust, but what these spots look like. And to give a bit more description, coffee leaf rust starts as small, irregular, pale yellow spots, okay, on the upper leaf surface. And they're going to be anywhere that stomates are. And I know that can be a little confusing. The stomates are on the bottom of the leaf. That's where coffee leaf rust spores are actually infecting the leaves, but the first symptom is on the upper surface as they kind of tap into the host, these irregular, very small spots. And they tend to be concentrated around the leaf margins due to where the moisture sits on the leaves, but they can be anywhere, and all stages of leaf development are susceptible. Okay, something really different, coffee leaf rust does not produce a pustule or a bumpy area or a depressed area as a symptom. And this is because it's going in and out of the natural opening. Okay, coffee leaf rust, for the signs, you're looking at these powdery spores that essentially can get on anything very easily. And again, the mycelium is completely within the leaf tissue. Okay, when you compare this to Cercospora spot are small, circular. So if you really look closely, they are quite circular for the initial spots. And right away, you tend to see brown or necrotic centers of these spots. And you will see the initial symptoms of Cercospora spot on either surface. And what is critical is that the symptoms can be anywhere on the leaf, including the leaf veins. This is a big difference between coffee leaf rust and Cercospora spot. Cercospora is another fungus that can essentially just jackhammer its way through the leaf tissue. So it doesn't need a natural opening. It can go in anywhere. And on the lower surface, you will see depressions. I know this is not quite clear, but there is a bit of a depression, or you can sometimes see a bit what almost looks like a raised bump. This is due to just destruction of the leaf tissue because of the toxins being produced. Very early on, you see a tiny brown necrotic center. That's very different than coffee leaf rust, which is lacking until much later in the disease cycle. Okay, sometimes as these symptoms get bigger for Cercospora, you'll see some concentric rings, and the spores are not powdery. So if you were to rub your finger off over this surface with Cercospora, you would see nothing on your hand. Okay, just some pictures, not coffee leaf rust. And as the symptoms progress, okay, it becomes much more obvious. These necrotic areas, these large areas, you know, you can start to see the differences. It's the early stages that can become quite confusing. And so here's some early pictures, which are not coffee leaf rust, but even for myself, walking up to this tree, I thought, oh my goodness, is it? Now, you see they're very circular in nature, these early symptoms. And on the underside, you already see these necrotic areas. That is the big difference. And don't be confused. It looks a little yellow, but there are no powdery spores, okay? And again, the critical thing to look at is, where are these symptoms occurring? You can see these tiny spots are on leaf veins. Coffee leaf rust does not do this, okay? Coffee leaf rust, again, goes in and out the natural openings. So here are some examples where right on these leaf veins, these symptoms are occurring. And this is just a blow up to show you the very circular spots. You already see a brown center, and what it looks like on the lower surface of the leaf, it is very different. A necrotic, depressed area, again, a brown area, and not those yellow to orange powdery spores, okay? Now, this is a good example of a leaf. And as I mentioned, the symptoms initially concentrating near the leaf margins, okay? Everything you're looking at referred to with yellow is coffee leaf rust, okay? Irregular, and this is the upper surface, but irregular spots, okay? This in red, right on the leaf vein, is not coffee leaf rust. And if you compare the early symptoms, this is coffee leaf rust, irregular, yellow, no brown center. This is located on a leaf vein with brown already on this tiny spot. It's circular, and this is actually Cercospora, so not coffee leaf rust. Okay, so if you're going to start scouting and sampling, we cannot stress enough how critical it is to follow sanitation and the recommendations listed. You can find that with the UH publications at the UH site. It is very easy, as you're looking at leaves, to pick up spores if they're there and transfer them. So please follow all the recommendations for sanitation. You have to start with early detection, and that's where getting a better understanding of what these symptoms look like for coffee leaf rust versus not early. But it is critical to start managing when the incidence level is very low. And as I mentioned, once it gets to about 5–10%, you need to have other tools available that are not yet available in our toolbox, okay? When you go looking, the lower portion of the tree canopy, look, this is just based on some of our experience, in some shaded areas. Also look on the roadways and driveways, okay? We can see how cars even going up and down roads can easily transfer some of the spores. First and foremost, if you can take good pictures of the upper surface and lower surface of leaves and submit photographs, oftentimes a trained eye can kind of catch them very, very early, and you have some options. You can send them to my lab, and here's my contact information. You can send pictures to Andrea. You can send pictures to HDOA, and doesn't matter. You think you have a suspect, take pictures and send them to an expert. If you want to actually submit samples, there's a great guide now that Andrea will talk about on how best to survey and sample. And this gives you an example of putting leaves in between clean paper towels that are dry, putting them in Ziploc bags, and then how best to get them to the experts. So to summarize this portion of the talk, coffee leaf rust has been around for 140 years. Yes, it is new to Hawaii, but the disease and the pathogen has been well studied and is well managed in other areas of the world. Right now, it's new. For Hawaii, we're trying to figure out where it is, okay, what race it is, because there are many races, and we need to know as far as how susceptible the different varieties are. We need to understand what's going to work best here in Hawaii with our microclimates, the temperatures, the soils, the host. I can't stress enough that healthy plants are critical. We want to eliminate inoculum and minimize the spread of coffee leaf rust with early detection strategies. And so we're all collectively working on short and long-term management strategies. So with that, I say thank you, and I will pass it along to Andrea and beyond for questions at the end.
Andrea is an associate extension agent with the University of Hawaii College of Tropical Agriculture and Human Resources. She works out of their own extension office and provides outreach to the coffee, tropical fruit, and nut industries. Since 2011, she has been coordinating and providing coffee berry borer integrated pest management recommendations to growers throughout the state. She conducts research that is applicable to farmers and partners with other agencies to provide growers with educational opportunities and research-based information. Andrea, as I said before, has been a tremendous contributor, not only in Ka'u, but to the entire coffee industry throughout the state. She's based in Kona, but her reach is very wide and impactful. So we're very lucky to have her. I can remember a day when we didn't have any extension agent, and to graduate from almost nothing to a powerhouse that is Andrea, our entire industry is very lucky, and Ka'u is no exception to that. So please join me in welcoming Andrea Kawabata.
During my presentation, what I wanted to do is try to emphasize the importance of being able to detect and control coffee leaf rust early in infection on your farm or farms. The goal of this presentation is to help you understand why early detection is really important, and as well as its control, and also to provide you with some of the updates and the resources that are available to you for leaf rust. So these are just very general maps. Lisa showed a map as well, but it gives you an idea of where on the Big Island in Maui the positives have been located. But just because you don't have CLR on your island yet, we still want you to get out there and looking for CLR in your farms. As Lisa said, this disease can be spread very easily via wind, by human movement, animals, and other different movements that we go from farm to farm with, island to island. So we need to be actively looking for coffee leaf rust on the farms. So some of the photos that we get submitted from farmers do indicate that they are finding leaf rust at their locations. But, as Lisa kind of mentioned, finding it early is really important. And a lot of these photos that you see on screen really are advanced stages of coffee leaf rust. And, it is at this point in time that not even our contact fungicides will help to reduce the severity and the incidence once CLR really takes hold. And so it's really important to be able to find CLR before it gets to this point. And, in Hawaii, basically all of the varieties that we grow are susceptible to coffee leaf rust. And there's kind of this magic number of under 5% coffee leaf rust incidence. That is really important to us here in Hawaii because right now we do not have access to the systemics that other countries have, and we also do not have the resistant varieties just yet. And I know both of that is being worked on currently, and hopefully the process is going to be expedited so that growers have access to both. So right now we only have these contact fungicides, and they are protectant fungicides. They are not curative fungicides, and so under 5% is really important to catch CLR early on in infection and to be able to control it at a low level. Okay, so just to kind of give you an idea of what this 5% means, let's say I go into our farm. We're going to use the monitoring methods, which is to randomly select 10 trees per plot or per acre using a zigzag walking pattern throughout the farm. You also want to be looking at neighboring trees just to see if you can see any symptoms. You'll be collecting 10 leaves per tree from the lower third of the plant canopy. And as the blue arrows are showing, you're going to be taking 1 or 2 leaves per branch from the middle of the branch, and preferably third or fourth pair of leaves back from the tip. Throughout this plot or your acre of coffee, you're going to collect leaves, whether they have symptoms or not. You're going to count the number of leaves that have coffee leaf rust symptoms, and it's going to help to give you your percentage. And again, we are looking for a percentage that is under 5%. So visually, that means that out of 100 leaves, no more than 4 of those leaves would actually have coffee leaf rust symptoms on them. So it's a very low level, and that low level is extremely important to being able to control coffee leaf rust in Hawaii with the contact fungicides we currently have. Okay, so how do you find coffee leaf rust at this low level, and what do you need to do in order to do that? First off, it's really important to actually know what you're looking for. Your glasses, grab some younger, better eyes, to help you look for them in the farm. And we have some great photos on the new publication for sampling and monitoring that hopefully will help you understand what early symptoms of coffee leaf rust looks like. And we really need you to get out there as soon as you can if you have not already been doing so, and look for these symptoms. Okay, so as part of this new publication for surveying, sampling, and monitoring of coffee leaf rust in Hawaii, again, we've got a ton of photos in there. Lisa also showed you some really good photos with her presentation. And so it'll show you symptoms that go from early leaf rust spots of that pale yellow spot on the upper and lower leaves, lower sections of the leaves, as you'll see the spores and that orangey kind of keto powder on the bottom section of the leaves, as well as some of the more advanced stages where you will see some of that browning and necrosis in the center of the spots. And then also we are providing you with some photos of what is not coffee leaf rust and what you might also be seeing on leaves in your farm that could be more related to nutritional deficiencies, maybe damages from other insects and diseases. So really some great photos coming up in that publication. And again, Lisa showed you this slide, and this slide is also available in this sampling pub, and it helps you to determine the differences between coffee leaf rust and Cercospora leaf spot. And we've had Cercospora leaf spot for a really long time in Hawaii, and similar to coffee leaf rust, it comes out and spreads more with wet environments, more humid environments. So where you could find Cercospora leaf spot, you can also find coffee leaf rust, but they're both very different. And hopefully this publication will help you to identify those differences and be able to spot coffee leaf rust for early detection and control. So to give you an idea of, I guess, really the early symptoms that Lisa was talking about, these photos show the same leaves that were photographed a week apart. And, you know, if, let's see, there's some really yellow spots on either side of the leaves. And I really wish this was in PowerPoint mode, but those initial four circles on the left also show up on the leaf on the right. Yeah, these are the same leaves. And already within just 1 week, those pale yellow spots have started to develop the orange spores within that spot. And then you can also actually notice, I hope you can notice anyway, some additional spots that are developing on that leaf. So just within a week, there are advances for coffee leaf rust. So it's really important to be out there scouting. Just because you don't see something 1 week does not mean that you're not going to see something the next week. And so, you know, keep an eye out for that. These young spots are what you really want to be looking for spots with spores on either side of the leaves. Lisa did mention the sanitation protocols. They are extremely important when you're going from infected farms to uninfected farms, or uninfected areas of your farm to infected areas of your farm. So we want to try and prevent the spread of coffee leaf rust as best as we can, while still being practical about it. But what you can use is at least 70% alcohol or a 10% bleach solution that has been recently made. You can use this to sanitize your tools, any equipment, your picking baskets, your hooks. You know, just remember that bleach does corrode. So if you are using it to sanitize any kind of metal tools and equipment, be sure to wash it off after, and then it does not rust and corrode. Use detergent and hot water to sanitize your clothing and anything else that can be washed, as well as dry it under high heat. Heat helps to kill coffee leaf rust spores versus cold. All right, so what do you do if you are finding coffee leaf rust, but it's at an incidence rate that's above 5%? You know, basically, the contact fungicides are really not going to be effective or as effective at rates over 5% in controlling coffee leaf rust in Hawaii. In other countries, they do have the systemics to help control coffee leaf rust at incidences above 5%. Also, the resistant varieties help not have this. We have to depend on these contact fungicides. So if you are seeing rates that are above 5%, or you know, you've got a very bad infection on your farm, you really need to consider leaf removal, pruning, and then this also spraying to maintain that level under 5%. Because we don't have the systemics, you need to also expect that defoliation and yield losses can occur in the following seasons, especially if you're not doing anything to control coffee leaf rust. If you're only depending on those sprays of the contact fungicides and not doing anything to remove the infected leaves or plant material, please do expect that defoliation will occur and yield losses will. We do not see the yield losses occurring in the current season, but because of leaf loss, because of declining health of the trees, those yield losses are typically seen in the next season and possibly in subsequent seasons after that. If you're spraying the fungicides that we currently are able to use, please refer back to the spray publication that we released a little earlier. Check out table 1 on that publication. It lists the different approved fungicides. And this publication also talks about the importance of resistance, rotation of the different products in the different FRAC groups, as well as the label requirements for these different fungicides. And recently we did update this to include Cueva fungicide concentrate, another product that is copper-based fungicides, but it's another product that could be used to help to control coffee leaf rust in Hawaii. Right. So for the next couple of months, these are some of the things that we really need to do to be able to find coffee leaf rust early, detect it, and then also to control it. So we really need to get out there and continue to look for coffee leaf rust symptoms. If we do have coffee leaf rust on the farms, please spray immediately if you have not already sprayed, and use the proper fungicides and correct rates. If you have any questions about rates and what products you should be using, how to use them, please let me know and I can help you through that. We can't forget about coffee berry borer management as well. And right now, if you're rounding out your harvest, please don't forget to do the strip to remove all the berries and raisins from the trees and to reduce the of CBB before any new berries come out in the next season. If you are going to start to prune, we do recommend that you spray with an approved fungicide prior to pruning, and that is to kill off any of the live spores that you might be seeing on the leaves that are outside on the leaves, and then you can start to prune following the re-entry interval period, and that typically is about 48 hours or so. But please consult with the label to make sure that you are following all the directions on that label. If you're pruning, you might consider block pruning to help you control both coffee leaf rust and CBB. Be sure to keep your plant materials on farm, and you can use either the piling and tarping method to make sure that CLR does not escape into your field, nor CBB. You can also use flail mower to go through and to chip up some of that leaf materials and branch materials and to help it degrade and to break down and compost faster. Just be aware that if you use any kind of chipper, flail mower, you could be spreading CLR. So again, we do recommend the spray before pruning to help to reduce the amount of live spores on plant materials. Lisa mentioned this, but keeping your trees healthy can help the trees resist CLR and to get them through the tough situation of being affected by CLR. And again, please continue to look for the symptoms in your field. It's really important, again, fungicides really are not effective over an incident rate of 5%. So please be out there. We've got the different publication resources out there for you. At this point in the year, I know folks are going to start to do their leaf tissue and soil analyses. If you are located on Maui or the Big Island, there is a new quarantine protocol because of coffee leaf rust, and that is to double bag your leaf tissue and soil samples before you come down to the extension office. You can use just 2 Ziploc bags to double bag. And this would be the same for if you were going to be submitting any kind of insect or disease or nematode samples from a coffee farm as well. To make sure that we can better serve you at the extension office, you may want to call and or make an appointment with the office to be sure that somebody is there to receive your samples and to help you out with the forms and payment. For the different offices, you can use that link to find where your nearest office is, as well as the contact information for extension. Again, we have various resources for you to learn about coffee leaf rust, how to survey, sample, and monitor for this disease, how to identify rust, as well as to distinguish it from other diseases like Cercospora. We've got that spray pub, which is available in English, Spanish, Ilocano, and Tagalog. Lisa has also provided from USDA the sanitation protocols, and there's also a great H2A field guide and submission form should you want to submit photos to H2A identification. And again, a lot of this information can be found at the hawaiicoffee.com website. My contact information is here on this this slide, and please feel free to send me any questions related to coffee, CBB, coffee leaf rust. I'm here to help you guys and serve you as best as I can. That's my office number. I'm not always there, but you can always leave Gina a message, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. And you can also text me any photos or any questions that you may have. And with that, I thank you very much, and I will stop.
Thank you, Andrea. Are you still there?
I'm still there.
Okay, we have a question in the chat from Jordan. We understand about sampling trees and leaves to have them be identified. The question is, should infected leaves be removed once detected? And if so, how to do that? I
would prefer photos first. A lot of times we can tell if it is coffee leaf rust, but if for some reason we have a hard time distinguishing what are on the leaves, what kind of spots they are, then we'll contact you and ask you for a sample submission. So Lisa and I have been working together to get those to Lisa and Hilo.
Right, but as a control method, should the leaves be removed and destroyed aside from identification?
Yeah, so if you have removed leaves, yes, you can compost them, bag them up, leave them in the sun for at least 6 weeks. Heat kills the spores a lot better than cold. So, we don't recommend putting them in the freezer or anything like that, but definitely destroy them so we are not contributing to any kind of spread. And if any questions, are out there on how to destroy the leaves properly, please.
Okay, we've been having trouble with the audio throughout the segment, so we apologize for that. Lisa, do you want to add to that at all? That question?
Andrea, and I guess unfortunately, as the symptom severity increases, a lot of those leaves will prematurely fall off as well. So you're going to end up with a lot of the leaf material on the ground. And as Andrea mentioned, particularly with that, it is very straightforward with the new publication on what to do and how to do it. But that the inoculum, actually getting it out of the tree, but it is best to try to do some kind of sanitation for that available inoculum that's now on the ground.
Okay, thanks for that. Any more questions?
So I do see, Chris, there is a question. Is there a prescription how to check the leaves without spreading to other trees, since we have to look under the leaf? And that's an excellent question. And the best answer I can give, the suggestion is every time you're looking at a leaf, you could sanitize your hands. So even if you were to wear gloves, the practices of hand sanitizers, hand sanitation constantly, going even from leaf to leaf. We can't stress the importance of not moving those spores around ourselves. So that is an excellent question, especially, if you're able to not touch and actually, oftentimes if you can get some sunlight, light backing, it helps with the way the symptoms, the shapes, the sizes, seeing spores. But if you're touching plant material, the best thing you can do is to use the alcohol in particular and sanitize your hands, going at least from tree to tree. If you can do it from touching a leaf to touching another leaf, that would be the optimum. But definitely treat hands and anything you're working with between trees.
Great. Thank you, Lisa. Any other questions from our audience? Okay. Thank you again, Andrea and Lisa, for an excellent session. The presentations will be made available on the kaucoffeefestival.com website. You can find them there. The contact information for each of our speakers will also be there. We're right on time. Wishing each of you happy holidays to our speakers. Our next presentation is going to be Nakamoto.
This is
Stuart is going to, we have a pre-recorded segment from Stuart. He wasn't able to join us live. And we appreciate him recording his presentation in advance. I'd like to give an introduction for Stuart, if I may. Bear with me. Stuart Nakamoto is also with University of Hawaii College of Tropical Agriculture and Human Resources. He is an extension economist. He is well known to us in Kau. He's been a very positive contributor to our development of our coffee growing community. He specializes in the areas of marketing and adding value for perishable products and agricultural economics in agribusiness. His interests also include the development of products and crops that are new to Hawaii and testing and adoption of novel methods to address growers' issues. So with that, we'd like to welcome Stuart Nakamoto.
Stuart Nakamoto with CTAR. Thanks for inviting me to participate in the Kau Coffee College today. Sorry I can't be there in person, so I'm hoping this video will do. What I'd like to do today is share some thoughts about how we might get through the COVID and economic problems that we're facing now. I'm not an expert in this area by any means, but I have some thoughts that I hope can be of use to you. Let me share my screen. Okay. So some thoughts about dealing with COVID and the economic crisis. I think in what's going to be happening or what's happening now, getting good information and using that information is very important. A big part of this is the communication. Unfortunately, with the situation that's going on now, a lot of businesses are just closing up. And they're there one day, the next day they're gone. You don't want to be in that situation. So one of the things I would suggest is that you reach out to your buyers and your suppliers, just let them know how things are going, that you plan to be in business and producing coffee in the coming year. Same thing with your workers. Getting pickers, as you know, can be a very difficult thing. But if they're know that you're going to be looking for workers. That could be very important. Big part of your communication group are other growers, other contacts that you have. Anyone that you can work with, can provide information, share information. Because I think getting through this will be a group effort. A lot of times you need to rely on your friends and them with you. So along those lines, the other growers are not your competitors. I think Ka'u Coffee as a whole, you have to work together to get through this. It's important then to be connected, whether it's with your group, through the Coconut Wireless. A lot of you use the internet or your cell phone to be in touch. Sign up with different newsletters. Andrea is one of the speakers today. You get her coffee newsletter. Whatever newsletters you can get on, because that information that you get is going to be very important. Now, when I'm taping this, it is Sunday. And what we've just been hearing is that in Washington, the Senate and the House of Representatives have been putting together, they're very close to signing the next COVID aid bill. And this will very likely have, again, like the first time, very likely will have things in it to help growers. What's going to be very important, though, is that these programs are, like the first time, very likely going to be first come, first served. There's only a certain amount of funds in there. And if you're not there in line to get your part, you may not get anything. So it's going to be very important. Get your paperwork in order, know who to contact, and then with all your connections or your news, when you hear the opportunities are ready, be there and get your application in on time. There's also going to be, or there may be other programs, maybe by the state government or whoever. Good to know about those. One other thing to check out very related would be the loan programs, whether it's from the USDA Farm Service Agency or the Hawaii Department of Ag. There are programs out there to help farmers. I'm not saying just to go out and borrow money. You need to think about that because you also don't want to overextend yourself. If your business goes under, you want to keep your personal assets safe. So be careful when you do that. Related to all of this, you're here today to talk about the coffee leaf rust. I've seen some of you now for perhaps over 10 years. If you remember Sabina Swift way back when, some of the first things we talked about were crop insurance. Well, it might be a good time now to look into crop insurance again. So our understanding is that coffee leaf rust could be covered by crop insurance if you are following the correct procedures and have the appropriate records. So also from what we talked about way back then, records are going to be very important. I'm hoping you've been keeping up with those and that you have those ready, whether it's for crop insurance or to go ahead and get the help from the COVID programs. I hope this information is going to be of use to you. Of course, if you have questions, please feel free to reach out either to me directly or through Andrea or some of your other contacts. It's getting close to that time of year, so wishing you all a happy holiday, but at the same time, be safe, practice your social distancing, use your masks. Take care.
to Stuart. Sorry he couldn't be here live, but with the holidays and all, we apologize for that. The KCFA, the Kona Coffee Farmers Association, has held a webinar on coffee crop insurance and how it relates to CLR. We will follow up with another webinar either through the Hawaii Coffee Association on crop insurance. But if you Google the KCFA website, you should be able to locate that webinar that you can view to get further information from that. I'll look for it during the next session, and we'll post a link in the comments section of this webinar. So please stay tuned to the various activities that are available to you. Try and bring as many resources to bear as possible. It looks like Ala already posted it. Is that right, Ala?
Crop and treatment webinar.
Okay, that's fantastic. Thank you. And also want to take a moment to thank Ala, Ruslan, and Laura, but in particular Ala, who's been assisting me with the coffee festival this year. You know, with the quarantines and the lockdowns and COVID in general, putting on a festival this year has been difficult, to put it mildly. But we're happy to at least get it done before the end of the year. You know, we've had a good track record, 12 years, a growing event. We didn't want to let COVID kick our butts too much. So this is, as I said, our 13th year. And we're happy to be able to create this content. And some of the other events that we're hosting is we have a virtual farm tour where visitors can meet the farmers, see what they do, how they do it, learn a bit more about what drives them. And that content will be available much longer than a live festival, which is over in 2 weeks' time. We'll have that information and that video available virtually forever through our website. So it's a helpful tool to help us promote Ka'u, which is what the festival is all about. We're also posting farmer profiles online. So we're interviewing farmers and putting that information so that buyers or people generally interested in Ka'u coffee can learn a bit more about the people who produce the award-winning Ka'u coffee. We are also posting a video brewing demonstration where, much like our Ka'u coffee experience that we have at the live festival, we have folks demonstrating how to brew Ka'u coffee in various ways and how the brewing method, the roast, and the grind impacts flavor. So check out all those. And to cap off the year, we have our festive event, which I believe is going to be on the 30th, I believe. Ala will correct me in the chat. Sorry. And that'll be a live concert or a video concert that we've got some players, local musicians, and hula as well to brighten your day and your holidays. So hope you can enjoy some Ka'u coffee while you're enjoying some local music and hula. And we're a little early. If our next speaker is ready, I don't have a bio on him, but he's Jeffrey Wardell. He's a business program specialist from the USDA Rural Development. Our dear friend, Brenda Io-Kepa-Moses, who's well known to many of the folks in Ka'u. She worked for a sea brewer back in the day when the coffee farms or the majority of the coffee farms first started in the late 90s. And Brenda, I had the pleasure also of working professionally with Brenda for a number of years. And she has stayed with the land until she was hired to lead the USDA Rural Development Office in Hilo. So Jeffrey is in that same office. Brenda has moved on to the Mitch Mayor, the new mayor-elect, Mayor Mitch Roth. His administration, I believe she's in Department of Environmental Management. So we wish her well in her career. Brenda's been a tremendous contributor to the Ka'u coffee industry over the years. She's been very helpful, helping us map out the layout for the event. She's been managing all the booth registrations and all the permits associated with that. And I'm sure you folks know there's a lot of work that goes into putting on a live event. But there's also a lot of work that goes into putting on a virtual event. And Ala has filled that role impeccably. So we thank her, as well as Ruslan, who's done a lot of the video and audio and editing, which is quite a bit of work, an enormous task in a short period of time. And Laura, who has been managing social media promotion. So it's been a great team come together to bring you this festival. So we're right about on time. If you can please join me in welcoming Mr. Jeffrey Wardell, Business Program Specialist, USDA Rural Development in Hilo. Aloha, Jeffrey.
All right, well, aloha. Yeah, thanks for the invite to to speak in place of Brenda today. Definitely appreciate everyone attending. Go ahead and get my slides on here. Well, with that said, as you've kind of noticed, USDA is kind of a bigger agency or a group, and so with that said, the USDA is basically a federal executive department with many different agencies within it. And so what it is you know, it's responsible for developing and executing federal laws related to farming, agricultural, forestry, and food. You know, with that, there are multiple agencies. We had some speak earlier, you know, with that rural development here. So we provide leadership on food, agricultural, natural resources, you know, rural development, nutrition, and other related, you know, public policies through, you know, the best available science and effective management. Let's see. And then, you know, with this slide here, you know, kind of shows the multiple agencies that make up the USDA. So it's a, you know, kind of multiple facet agency. Next slide. So rural development, what is our mission? Rural development mission is to increase the economic opportunity and improve the quality of life of rural America. Rural development was created as a catalyst to improve conditions in rural America by offering technical assistance and increasing the flow of capital through, you know, leverage and partnerships. Next slide. So with that, rural development is broken into three kind of subcategories, or three groups, we'll call it, within the agency. And so, you know, with the multiple missions, we have different, you know, sub parts within that. So we have the Rural Housing Service. They offer a variety of programs to build and improve housing and essential community facilities in rural areas. The Rural Housing Service offers loans, grants, and loan guarantees for single and multi-house, multi-housing, housing for farm laborers and such. The other one is community facilities. And then also part of that group is the rural service or rural utility service. They administer programs providing that helps for child care centers, fire, police stations, hospitals, libraries, nursing homes, schools, first responder vehicles and equipment. It also provides much needed infrastructure and infrastructure improvements to rural communities, including water, waste, electric power, telecommunications service. And finally, what I'm part of is the Rural Business Cooperative Service. We offer programs to support business development and job training opportunities for rural residents. We offer programs that help provide capital, technical support, and education opportunities, and that help rural America start, grow business, and have access to agricultural markets through biodiverse economy. Next slide. So as you can see here, these are kind of the, within the business programs, these are kind of the different programs that we do offer. Today I'm going to mostly speak about Rural Energy for America program, and then also the Value Added Producer Grant. But we also have programs that might be useful as far as the B&I guarantee loan guarantee and so on. So with this, to achieve this mission, we provide finance and technical support through direct loans, grants, loan guarantees, and direct payments. And as I said, these are kind of a few of the ones that kind of we do offer. So let's see, next slide. So the first one I'm going to talk about is REAP. So Rural Energy for America program. It's kind of broken, within that it's broken into two parts. So you have the renewable energy systems and you have the energy efficiency improvement for the loan guarantee and grants. Let's see, next slide. So what is Rural Energy for America? So basically, REAP provides guaranteed loan financing and grant funding to agricultural producers and rural small businesses to purchase and install renewable energy systems and to make energy efficiency improvements. These efforts help farmers, ranchers, and other small business owners to save money on their energy bills and reduce America's dependence on foreign oil and support America's clean energy economy. Kind of next slide. So eligible applicants. So what is an eligible applicant? So it's broken into two parts. We have agricultural producers defined as a individual entity that's directly engaged in the production of agricultural products, including crops, livestock, forestry products, hydroponics, nursery stock, and aquaculture. And kind of how that works is you have to produce 50% or greater of your gross income is derived from the operation. Basically, something to note is that the purchase and resale of agricultural products are not considered income derived from production of agricultural products. So a lot of times we'll have folks that have different percentages of, that we only grow 10%, and basically as we define an agricultural producer would grow 50% or more of their income from that. Additionally, the agricultural producer must be rural, or maybe rural or urban, excuse me. The next, I guess, category or part of applicants would be the rural small business. So within that, there's basically two parts of how we can define what a rural small business is. And the first part is the applicant must meet the size qualification based on the Small Business Association, or SBA, based on the business type. And so SBA uses a North America industry classification to determine the size. And so we'll look at something like that as far as the number of employees, and whether it's documented on tax returns or payroll records or those types of things. And another type, another, I guess, alternative to the size standard option, we look at the tangible net worth. And so basically not more than 15 million on average net income, basically on your taxes after, we'll look at 2 fiscal years. And so those are kind of the 2 eligible I guess applicants here. Let's see, next slide. So eligible projects. So within that, so REAP, as I had said, I guess previously, REAP covers energy efficiency improvements and renewable energy systems. And so energy efficiency is to improvements to the facility, building, or process that reduces energy consumption or reduces energy consumed within, a per square foot. Kind of examples of that would include heating, lighting, cooling, ventilation, fans, automation of controls or insulation. And the other part that REAP covers is the renewable energy systems. So systems would be that produces and delivers usable energy from renewable energy sources such as solar, wind, hydroelectric, different anaerobic digesters, biomass, geothermal, and ocean and wave power. And with that said, the technologies and systems must be commercially available and offered and manufactured in a product that is at a consumer base, not kind of stuff that's in testing or development kind of phases. Next slide. So eligible costs. So what does this include as far as eligible costs? So eligible costs are those costs that are incurred after a complete application has been received, and are directly related to the project. As far as whether it's the renewable energy or the energy efficiency. Ineligible costs can include, some of the following here: residential energy. So we get that a lot is, my farm's on, or my house is on the farm. Can I include my house? And so a lot of times, we ask that, or with our program, it can include housing. And so the residential part will be cut out or removed from the project. And basically, with that said, no residential. The energy efficiency, like I said, includes the facility, the building, or any process that reduces the energy or energy consumption. And I guess the other part of that is that, again, it has to be a commercially available kind of product or such. So next slide. So with the funding, so how the funding works as far as the, within the REAP. So basically the grant covers up to 25% of the eligible costs. And so what does that mean? A minimum grant request could be $2,500 up to a maximum of $500,000 for renewable energy systems. Energy efficiency improvements, minimum grant would be $1,500, maximum $250,000. Next slide. So the guaranteed program. So that's where the guarantee kind of works. If people are familiar with like VA or those kind of other options, you would go to a bank and then the U.S. government kind of guarantees the loan through the bank. And so a minimum of that would be $5,000 with a maximum of $25 million. Again, USDA guarantees a commercial loan. the applicant would be working with the lender, and those terms and conditions would be worked out through the lender, and the borrower, and any fees and appraisals or any of those type of things would apply as normal. So here's kind of a sample of how it looks. So we have a project here for $1 million. On this sample here, the grant would cover the 25%. Other funding might be any contribution that it's made by the entity or the agricultural producer. Potentially a 50% REAP guarantee, which in whole is 100% of the total project. Let's see, next slide. And with that, the allocation of funds. So kind of how it works is the grant is a competitive based score, or we score based on like a competition. You apply and you basically state where your project is going to be located, and each one of our states gets an allocation of funds. So Hawaii, gets its own funds, and again, the small business size standard would apply on these type of things. Next slide. So deadlines for REAP applications and such. So the unrestricted are the under 20,000. So how that works is the unrestricted is the 20,000 and under, and that would come from the state of Hawaii's pot or funding pool. And so those are on October 31st and March 31st, as long as it doesn't fall on a weekend. And anything 20,000 above is unrestricted, and that's kind of scored kind of nationally. And so those kind of grants are only done once a year on March 31st. And as far as the REAP guarantees, those are year round. Next slide. So REAP scoring. So basically how the score sheets works here is the 100 points maximum. And as you can kind of see here on the slide, we go through different kind of, each kind of category has its own part, energy used per dollar, how much is replaced or saved, the environmental benefits, commitment of funds, how much funding do you have versus, whether it's loan or those kind of things, the size requirement, what size, or not requirement, but request, size request, whether you've been a previous REAP borrower or grantee, and payback and such. Next slide. So as I mentioned, we kind of have the 3 tiers, or there's multiple applications. So with the multiple applications, there's, it's kind of dependent on the project size, and, anything under 80,000. And on this slide here, it kind of shows the different forms and different information that we would need with the different applications. So next slide. Again, it kind of breaks down, the slide here is, what additional information we'll need, whether it's a full application, as far as whether you need engineering and a different feasibility study and such. So next slide. And this slide is just showing a few resources that, once you do get to that point, or you're interested in a little more information on the REAP program, we do have the forms are available online. We do have different services that do help with grant applications and such. We have the NOSA that kind of shows the solicitation, how the program's put out. So that'll be through like Gov Delivery, if anyone's familiar with that system. Also a link to the REAP website and the small business size standards through SBA. Next slide. So then these next slides are kind of are examples of projects that we've worked locally, you know, just to kind of give you an idea of what the REAP program does or benefits. So the first one is a dairy. You know, the total project cost, you can kind of see from the breakdown here, you know, the REAP grant, 25% was the 70,000. The total project is 280,000. You know, basically shows the energy saved. Another one is a cannery. Again, kind of get an idea of the different projects here that we do. A bakery. Another good one was, this one was for energy efficiency, where they changed a lot of the lighting and cooling options. Solar. So Kaumata Farms does vegetable farming. Another one is a chicken farm, solar, energy efficiency with lighting and such, cooling. So a few tips as far as grants just in general is kind of, you know, definitely read the forms, you know, don't skimp on information. Use different resources that are available, whether it's the website or different folks. You can definitely reach out to us at any point if you have questions. Kind of do understand the scoring criteria and how that, you know, how that works. You know, consult us as soon as possible. And remember, the REAP grant only covers 25% of the eligible costs, and it is issued on a reimbursement kind of funding. So, you know, how is your project going to be funded? So just different things to keep in mind as you're doing it. So next, I guess, program I'm going to talk about is the value-added grant. This one helps agricultural producers enter into value-added activities related to the processing and marketing of new products. So kind of next slide breaks down the authorization that we have. So the objective of this grant and program is to assist viable agricultural producers in starting or expanding value-added activities related to the processing and marketing of value-added agricultural products. So this grant is also available for available for planning and working capital projects. Next slide. So the objective of this grant is to assist, like I said it before, assist viable agricultural producers in starting and expanding value-added activities related to the processing and or marketing of value-added agricultural products. The goal of this program is to generate new products, create and expand marketing opportunities, and increase producer income. Next slide. So the next slide kind of breaks down, where we're at in funding and such. The value-added grants are awarded through a national competition, whereas you kind of, as I spoke about the REAP, where there's different pools and such, whether it's locally as far as Hawaii or nationally. So this one is only nationally and is announced basically each year. So this year the application deadline is March 22nd. Paper applications must be received before that date. Also, if you want to do it electronically, those need to be received by March 16th through grants.gov. And currently the funding level is 19 million, potentially to be changed once we receive budgets and such. And so how that works is it's a one-to-one matching of 50% of the project costs in total. So, and the grant period can be up to 36 months, depending on the project complexity and all the factors within the project. Let's see. Next slide. So eligible applicants. Eligible applicants are agricultural producers that are, legally, structured into 4 eligible applicant types. And so what that means is we have the independent producers, farm and ranchers, agricultural producers groups, and majority controlled producer-based ventures. So independent producer is an individual entity that provides or produces agricultural commodities through participation in daily operations and has the legal right to harvest agricultural products. The next one is the producer. It could be a nonprofit membership organization that represents independent producers. Next one, farmer ranchers, is basically a business owned and controlled by independent producers. And the last one is like non-producer investor types. And I guess the important part here is that the entity receives more than 50% of their financing through like voting control and those kind of things. Next slide. So value-added methodologies. So what this means is, what does that mean? So it's basically a change of state in the product. For example, like if you add tomatoes, that you would make a tomato sauce. So that changes the state from the produced good to additional product. Basically it's produced in a manner that enhances the value of the product. Basically it's coming from the source and locally produced. Next slide. So the value-added producer grant is in kind of two forms, or whether it's planning or working capital. So they can be used for planning. What is that? What is planning? So planning is to help the farmer plan for marketing and to help with the determination of the viability of the good produced. The other part is, or the other type is working capital. So those are for the operation costs directly related to processing and marketing. And so a lot of times we'll get asked for, can this buy equipment? And so this is, pretty much strictly related to the processing and marketing portions of it. So planning grants, what can it be used for? So it can be used to pay for consulting, like a consultant, whether you're developing like a feasibility study, business plan, marketing plan, those type of activities. Let's see, next slide. And working capital grants. So those could be basically used for salaries, marketing, labels, packaging, materials, distribution costs. Let's see, farmers market table fees, any fees that go into the marketing and the sale of the good. Let's see, next slide. And the next slide kind of covers the ineligible expenses. So, most commonly questions we get is, can I buy a building or different fixed equipment or processing vehicles? And so a lot of times, like I said, these are for the marketing of the new product more so. Next slide. And kind of the key features, or I guess the key components to kind of remember is that you must produce and own at least 50% of the raw commodity that you're adding the value to. Let's see. Another important part is that the raw commodity changes state into a new value-added product. Let's see, next slide. And then I guess as far as applicant eligible criteria, when you're looking at emerging markets, these are kind of the eligibility criteria. So, it does have to be an emerging market. You have to be a U.S. citizen or a citizen, have the legal authority to, sell that good or the access to the product. Let's see. and can't have multiple grants. Again, kind of along the theme of ineligible uses, no equipment, no building, no vehicles, those type of things. Let's see. So next slide kind of gives another example of kind of past grants that we've worked on or worked through. We have Kaumata Farms, 250,000 working capital, distribute tomatoes locally. Let's see, the next one, Hawaii Ulu Producers Cooperative. Basically got a grant to market and processing costs associated with marketing frozen breadfruit. Let's see, next one. Again, another local example to help with basically the farm there to purchase packaging, delivery, and such. Let's see, next one. Another one is like a vanilla bean, a working capital grant to help with value added for the vanilla products, whether it's the oil and such. Let's see. We do have, for the value added producer grant, there is some toolkits that help you out. Definitely not required, but recommended as far as templates and additional kind of resources to help you out with the grant and such. And so within the business programs, we have Denise Salmaron, business director, Shirley Heatherly, myself, Jeffrey Wardwell, and Anthony as well. So we kind of break it up into the area. So again, our contact, and the last page is just kind of a thank you for having us. I do see, I guess, times for questions and such. Let me see. So the first question, will this grant help cover upgrading solar batteries in an already existing system? Yeah, that would be a potential there as far as expanding and showing a need that you need to either upgrade or look at the system. Let's see. Can the future sales of agricultural be used to matching grant fund value added? So basically, let's see, can future sales of the agricultural product be used as matching funds? So we do have some like in-kind matching and those kind of things. So I believe if that's what you're asking, as far as the matching can be like labor or different things put into it. So we do look at stuff like that.
Thanks, Jeffrey. I didn't notice if in-kind funds can be applied toward the REAP grant.
As far as REAP, no. So REAP is more so, do you have the funds available? So since it's on a reimbursement basis, you would have to have the funds to pay for it, and then we reimburse for that 25%.
And what's the maximum amount for the VAPG grant, the value added grant? What's the maximum amount for kind?
For in kind, you said? Or,
yes.
I'm not sure we have a maximum amount, but we do want to see that you're able to match, basically 50-50 as far as the project. What is, and again, we're looking at the whole project, and do you have the funds to kind of match? And so, a lot of times we do like to see that there is some available capital to do those things, but we do look at it kind of on a case by case.
Okay. Thank you, Jeffrey. We have any more questions for Jeffrey?
And then again, I just want to thank you for letting me fill in for Brenda. I know kind of last minute fill in here, so do appreciate it. And everyone's time and wish everyone a happy holidays.
Thank you, Jeffrey. We appreciate you as well for taking the time during a busy time of the year to share what rural development can do for the Ka'u coffee growing community. If there's no other questions, please know that all the presentations will be posted on Ka'uCoffeeFestival.com. I want to thank Ala Kostenko for helping with this webinar, as well as the entire virtual Ka'u Coffee Festival this year. And a big mahalo to our sponsor, the Hawaii Tourism Authority. Without the Hawaii Tourism Authority, none of this would be possible. Also, big thanks to Big Island RCDC, that's Big Island Resource Conservation and Development Council, who acts as our fiscal sponsor for these events. A lot of volunteer work goes into it from the Ka'u Coffee Growers Cooperative. We thank them as well, and everybody who contributes, and also to all of our audience. Thank you for spending time with us. Please check out our website, Ka'uCoffeeFestival.com, for other events, including the virtual farm tour, the farmer profiles, the brewing demonstration. This webinar will be posted there. And likewise, the music and hula event, which will be available right around the 30th. So check our website often. We'll also be posting on social media. And again, a big mahalo to the Hawaii Tourism Authority. Happy holidays, everyone. Stay safe. And we hope to see you live in 2021. Mahalo nui loa. Stay well.